Okay. All right, hold on 1 second, guys. Okay. Okay, good. It's recording. My bad. It didn't look like it was for a second. All right, let's start screen sharing again. All right, sorry, everyone. Does everyone see my screen here with PubMed?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's create a citation file, right? So this is actually probably a good place to start recording because I feel like this is a definite need to know. So a lot of you use PubMed. It's a very user-friendly database if you're not, used to doing those types of searches. And I've already done a search here. If you would like to know how to do these fancy search strategies, I guess, or effective search strategies, as we like to call them, please schedule a consultation with us. I will get you the link to that consultation form, and I will be sure to put that in the chat here at the very end. So let's also figure out or see together how to create that citation file. So here's my list of results. Notice that I have 103. The way you're going to create that file is you go to this button that says send to, right? You click send to and you scroll down to citation manager. And then you have some options that you need to choose from to create your file. So notice we can have all results on this page, right? And PubMed by default only lists 10 results per page. So be careful whenever you create this citation file, because all results on this page just means the results that you're seeing on the first page. Now, if you had selected all results, that would have created a file with all 103 results. And if you had gone through and selected some of these, you could select selection. But I'm just going to work with 10 results today, just so that I have an easy number for the data set for demonstration purposes. So I'm just going to select all results on this page and create my file. Now, it's not always going to prompt you to save your files to a particular place on your computer, but if you, and this usually applies to my Mac users out there and those using Firefox, look in your downloads folder, because I promise you it went to your downloads folder. So if you don't get the prompt to save your file to a specific place on your computer, please check out your downloads folder. It will be saved as an NBIB file. So I'm just going to hit save. And now I'm going to go back to RefWorks. So we're going to talk more in depth about the horizontal navigation here, but keep in mind, we're still working within this folder, right? We're still working within our folder. And I need to import that citation file. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select add, and then it's the second option, import references. So I select that. Now, I do want to mention briefly that you can drag and drop, or you can select a file from your computer. I'm just going to do this, again, demonstration purposes, so that we can go to workshops and presentation, and then RefWorks workshop. Oh, this is actually the wrong one, but I have that same file here. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and import. Notice it says NLM PubMed, and I'm just going to import. Now I get to assign it to a folder. That's why we create our folders beforehand. And I'm saving it to my acupuncture and pregnant women and nausea folder. For some of you who have sat in on my database searching class, you know exactly what that search is. And then we can select import. Now there's going to be a number, and it's going to say X number of documents saved. Remember, we had 10 references in that citation file. That's how you know the import went successful, is that these two numbers match. So now we can just say, okay. And I did want to ask, if you have your audio on, can you please mute yourself quickly, because I am recording this, and I do want to get the recording out to you today. So in case we get any feedback or anything, I wanted to ask those out there in the audience to mute your microphones until you may need to ask a question at the very end. So This is what, okay, so notice how it took us to last imported. I don't know why that's the default, but anytime you import something, it always takes you to the last imported section. So I want to go back to the folder that I was working in again to show you around. Let's talk about the different ways you can look at your citations. The reason being is because if you don't like the way things look, sometimes you don't always use that tool. And I want you to see that you can customize your RefWorks account so that you will use it, right? You'll feel comfortable using it. So notice we can change the display of the number of citations we see per page. So we have from 25 to 2000, right? We are in the normal view here, but we can change that. So there, for my Excel spreadsheet brain people, we have table view, and I think a lot of people actually like this. So for this, all you have to do is select just a line in the, or a row in the table, and then you'll be able to edit your citation. I did want to mention that. So that's table view. And then we have full view. Now this is actually what I like, but I understand that this font is really small. So I would understand why you may feel more comfortable with the other types. Now we also have the citation view. So if you're used to looking at your references and you're used to seeing them as references, you can do citation view. And notice also that I am in APA 7th edition. That was my default because that was the last style that I used. So if I wanted to change that to say American Medical Association, you just select that little settings gear right here, and you can change the drop down to whatever style you are looking for or want to look at your citations in. And you have 6,560 styles to choose from. If for whatever reason you can't find your citation style, you can actually create your own. And that is probably another one of those teaching moments where we might need to schedule a consultation, because that process can take a minute to explain. So let me go ahead and exit out of this. I want to go back to normal view so that we can see how to edit our citations, right? We imported our citations. Now, how can I edit these? I'm just going to select the first one. Now, this is, right, my citation. And the way I'm going to edit is select this pencil icon in the top right, and then I get to change my citation or edit my citation. So notice here, we took over the title, authors, even the whole abstract, right, from PubMed. So we have everything that, you know, we saw in PubMed over here, including the mesh headings. Now they're called tags here, right? They're called tags here. But if you've ever attended one of our database searching classes or have heard us say mesh, that stands for medical subject headings. And in PubMed and Medline Ovid, articles are given mesh headings to describe what the article is about. And so these tags come from the article's mesh headings. And the great thing is you can add your own tags. Now, why is that important? It's important that you can add your own tags because you can actually search with your own tags. One example I like to give, especially for, I think it's the nursing students out there are aware of this concept, and maybe some of you are too as well. The concept of perceived risk. I guess it's really more of a phenomenon, but the concept of perceived risk. There is no mesh heading that says perceived risk. So whenever you do a search for these in databases, you have to use other subject headings that mean the same thing to find those articles, but there is no subject heading that is perceived risk, letter for letter that. Now, you can actually create your own subject headings here in RefWorks. So if you're looking for articles about perceived risk, you can go through and create your tags for your articles about perceived risk. And you can search for your citations according to what you call things, right? What you call things in the classroom, clinical practice. There's abbreviations for things. There's code names for things. That is just one of the useful tools. So attachments, I love this feature because especially with studies that have those figures, graphs, and charts, this is a great place to put those like downloadable PDFs. Now, some of you may be asking me, can we, if we have the PDF of the article, can we attach it there? The answer is a tentative yes. Now, why is that a tentative yes? Well, the more data you have in a storage area, right, the slower your performance speeds. I would always be more of an advocate for performance speed over like having all of my data exactly in just one system. Because what you can do is you can have your references, you can attach your, figures, your charts and graphs here. But if you have your PDFs of your full text articles, it may be better to have that saved onto a flash drive you may have, or your own computer system, just so that you have better performance speed with your RefWorks account. Because full text articles, after a couple of uploads, trust me, you're going to be suffering performance speed. So notice here as we scroll down that language has a little error message. Now, this ENG, it means English. It's an ISO encoding. I'm not going to bore you with data science. I just want to show you that it prompts you to change this to English, right? That the encoding says. So let's keep scrolling down. I do want to take a brief tangent to talk about PMID numbers, because I don't know if everyone knows what the PMID number is, but I definitely want to show you why that's useful to know what it is. So let's talk about the last thing we see here, and that's the ability to add more fields to your citations, right? Your citation information. Now, it depends on what citation style you need to use, right? Because for some styles, for some citation styles, you'll need more than the fields that are offered here. Now, what are fields? Fields are things like language, pages, PMID, author, title. Those are fields, right? And then all of the data in those fields are right here to the right. So you can add your own fields, you can customize them. The one I like to point out is actually translators. And the reason why is, especially with medical research, we use international evidence-based medicine. So a lot of you may be using articles that were translated from, French or Spanish or Chinese. So you actually have to have the translator names for certain citation styles. You definitely need it for APA 7th edition, just so you know. So although RefWorks can auto-populate your bibliographies for you, just know you should still be familiar with your citation style in the case that you may need those additional fields, but also because of the different reference types you may need to cite, right? Citing a journal article is very different from citing, say, an executive federal order. So let me go ahead and select save, because we made that change. Now, remember, we have tags. So on our left, we're still going through this vertical navigation. We have our tags, and we can click on those and we can find our citations that have those corresponding tags. So let me go ahead and collapse that. I'm going to go ahead and collapse the folders. I'm going to just say about deleted. It sounds exactly like it sounds. It's your deleted folder. Every now and then, it's a good idea to clear this out. I apparently had cleared it out, so great. But again, you want to periodically clear that out, because it's more of like a recycling bin, if you're familiar with that, where you have to clear it out, and that helps you again with performance speed. I'm going to go back into the acupuncture folder here, because I need to now talk about horizontal navigation. We talked about add, right? And we talked about importing references. That's where you're going to import your reference files. That's how you're going to import your reference files. And then, of course, we have create new reference. Now, I'm going to hold off here. I'm holding off on uploading document, okay? Because I want to do that demo here a little later. So create new reference. Now, this is actually widely used to cite web pages and websites. The reason being is because, different web pages and websites probably don't have a direct export to RefWorks or a way to create a citation file for that web page. One example that a lot of the students have been citing is CDC, right, for COVID information, the CDC updates page. So that is where you would manually create your reference, but it's not too shabby. What you need to start with when you select create new reference is always start with the reference, oh, my bad, always start with the reference type. The reason being, right, is these fields change. These fields change with the reference type. So notice the different fields we have with journal article. We have things like authors, abstracts, publication date. We have the journal name, right? But let's just change this drop down to something very different, like, let's see. Let's do, oh, there's even unpublished material. There was one I wanted to, oh, law statute. Here we go. So notice now we have jurisdiction, code, legislative session, legislative body. So always start with the reference type because these fields change. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. Now, here's another sharing functionality feature, right? You can share and you can export. So we have two options here that are highlighted. So we have our share folder. So now we've figured out the 3 places where we can share a folder. So you know, you can actually set administrative privileges to the people that you share your folders with. Why is this important? Well, think about like Google Docs, or, you know, when you're working on, when you're working on group projects, RefWorks is great for group projects because of these sharing features. I should say that, I should mention that. So with these sharing features, you can set administrative privileges of what the other person can do with the citations you're sharing with them. So you can set it to just read, can annotate, which means comment, right? They can't change anything, but they can comment on things. And then you have can modify, which is full reign to make changes. Again, to use these sharing features, you need to be able to share with someone else who has a RefWorks account. Now, there was another option that I wanted to show you, and that's export references. So you know how we created that citation file in PubMed? Well, you can actually create your citation files here in RefWorks as well. And you have different file formats to select from. I recommend using this for whenever you're trying to share citations with other people who don't have a ProQuest RefWorks account. So if they have EndNote, like if you're trying to share citations with another person that uses EndNote, please use the RIS format. RIS format. Now I am super excited to talk about this feature here, which is create bibliography. I have a sneaky suspicion that's why all of us are here today, because this saves you hours off your research. Well, possibly, it depends on how many references you use. So I do want to go here and just select a few of these titles at random, again, for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to select create bibliography. And then I'm going to select this first option, which is create bibliography. Now, notice that my default is APA 7th. My default is my default because that was the last citation style that I used. Now notice here at the top. So we have selected references, 3, right? We only selected 3 references, but we can change that to, oh wait, I meant to make a bibliography with all 10 of those references. I got to use all 10 of those for my research paper. And it's going to populate one of these days to include all 10 of those references. Normally, it does not take this long to load, I promise you. What I want to note here is the importance of organizing your citations in folders to get this functionality, because if you have all the citations that you are going to use for your paper conveniently in one folder, this is how easy you can create your reference list, right? Now you may be asked, so moral of the story, to sum up, you create your bibliographies, you create your bibliographies at the folder level. You create your bibliographies at the folder level. So how easy is it to put my reference list in a Word document? Let me show you. You select copy to clipboard here at the top. It says copy. I'm going to open a Word file now. And I'm just going to do a Control V paste, and that's how fast. That is how fast you can get your reference list. That's why it's important to manage your citations, because you can get the most out of this tool, right? You can make your workflow a lot faster when it comes to research. So I actually want to touch on, I'm just going to touch on this. And if you have more questions about it, definitely, ask those at the end. But I wanted to mention a tool that RefWorks has for Microsoft Word, and that's the RefWorks Citation Manager. So I'm just going to click on that just so you can see what it looks like. And sure enough, we have it here. So let me hit close. Let me do, because I want to, yeah, there we go. So here's what I like about this tool, but let me tell you, there is a little bit of a learning curve. I can, let's say I'm writing my paper. My name is Kelsey, and I need to cite that, right? I need to cite this. Now, before I start citing as I go, I need to change these 3 lines here. I turn my bibliography on. Notice here's where I can change my citation style. I'm using APA 7. It's my default because it's the last one I used. I am in the project demo. This is how you can change your projects, right? When you're working in your when you're working in your Word document, you need to refresh. If you're working here like in Word, and then all of a sudden your professor sends you the perfect article for your paper, and you need to include that citation first into RefWorks, and then you can cite it as you're going along in Word. Refresh this periodically so that you're getting access to all your citations that you've been importing. I turn my bibliography on. You can change your language here. So let me exit out of that. I need to cite this. Let's say I need to cite this citation here to back up my statement. So I just select cite this, and it starts populating my bibliography for me. Now, this is really cool. I will say that this is really cool. A lot of people get very excited about this, but there is a learning curve. I warn you now. See how this is highlighting in gray, and you may not be able to see it because it's very subtle, but this means if I try to click on this right here, you need to be citing, or excuse me, not citing, but you need to be editing your citation in the citation editor. If you need to edit the citation at all, the thing that's, lighting up in gray, edit in the citation editor. That's the part that offers a little bit of a learning curve, because it can be a little difficult when you're working in your paper and you try to manually edit this. You have to edit it over here. Otherwise, there's code that you can't see, and things can get kind of messy if you're not used to working in the citation editor side of things. So if I needed to remove that citation, I needed to just hit delete, and that's how I would properly delete it. I wouldn't just backspace it. So I wouldn't necessarily use this tool the first time writing my final term paper if I've never used this before. If you would like to learn more about this tool and how to use it, best practices, we will be getting you the consultation link so that you can schedule those consultations with us. So let me just go ahead and minimize this. There is a Google Doc tool that also is like the same thing for Google Docs. And I do have that information in a research guide, so I can get that to you as well. It tells you how to get the tool. And okay, virtual field trip for all my Google Scholars out there, my Google Scholar people. I want you now to go to Google Scholar. Please, 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 if you are a Google Scholar, I was about to say Google Scholar, right? But Scholar is sufficient. Please go there now. We're going to change a few settings. Now, what you need to do is go to these 3 lines here, go down to settings, and the 4th section, Bibliography Manager. Select Show Links to Import Citations into, and change the drop down to RefWorks, and then hit Save. Now we're not done. We're not done. go back to the 3 lines, go to settings, and go to library links. Now, look for Texas Medical Center Library, right? Find items at TMC Library. You should be able to type like Texas, and it should populate underneath, but you should be able to find it. And then I want you to check the TMC Library, find item at TMC Library, make sure that's checked and hit save. Now, why did I get you to do all those things? It's because, let me just show you. Here's my list of results. I just did a simple search. Now I have import into RefWorks. Now I have import into RefWorks, that button for my Google Scholar citations. How easy is this? Well, hopefully this works. So import into RefWorks. Yes, export to the newest version of RefWorks. I'm in the project demo. I'm gonna add this to my acupuncture folder. And we've saved 1 document in your library. Perfect. And it's going to, remember, take us to last imported, and there's my citation. Now, especially with imports into RefWorks, you may need to edit the citation to include more information, right? I can close out of that. I can even show you in my folder that it also saved. There we go. So that is honestly all I had for the first demonstration to show you around in RefWorks. I am going to stop the recording there, actually, so that we can have a smaller video.